Hello and welcome. In this lecture, we will create the front-end domain model object to contain user account information, introduce the Hibernate validator library, create a translation layer to transform front-end domain model objects into back-end ones and vice versa, write automated tests to verify that the translation layer works correctly. In the slide that I'm showing, we will be working on the domain model object, or POJO. We will start by creating a new feature branch named user account. First, we will ensure that we are pointing at the develop branch with the git command git checkout develop. Then, we will create a new user account feature branch with the git commands git checkout -b user account, git push -u origin user account. Now, we will create a basic account payload class. We can right-click on the com devops body web domain frontend package, select new class and name it basic account payload. I'm now going to copy the code I prepared for this lecture and then I'll talk you through it. First, we have declared it to extend the serializable interface and, as consequence, have declared the UID constant. Then, we have defined properties that will contain the data that user will fill when selecting the basic subscription option. We have declared email, username, password, confirm password, first and last name, a brief description of the user, a phone number and a country. Then we have declared equals and hash code based on their username, since this must be unique within the system. And finally, we have declared a toString method to help with operations. When users click the Submit button upon filling up the sign-up form, Spring will fill this POJO for us. Our goal is to then fill in a user entity instance with this POJO information and delegate to the lower layers its persistence in the database. Before getting there though, I'd like to introduce the Hibernate validator library. This library allows us to annotate POJOs with values that guarantee that an instance contains correct data. This is a second layer of protection in addition to the form validation I/O that we have introduced in the previous lecture. First, we will add a new Maven dependency to the POM file. We can create a new section called Hibernate Dependencies and add the Hibernate validator dependency, part of the org.hibernate group ID. We don't have to specify a version because Spring Boot manages it for us. Then, we can head back to the basic account payload POJO and add a few annotations. For all attributes except the description, we will add the @notnull annotation. For the email attribute, we will also add the @email annotation to ensure that this attribute contains a valid email address. We will see in the next lecture how we can use these properties with Spring. Now, we need to write a translation layer. We will write the translation layer in the user_utils class, and for now we will add a single method, from web user to domain user. This method translates a basic or a pro account payload POJO into a user entity. Instead of writing the implementation though, let's start from the test. First, we will add the new dependency to the POM file. This dependency is called Podem and it's an open source project that automatically fills POJOs with random data. The group ID is UK-co-gemos-podem, the artifact ID is podem, the version at the time of writing is 6.02.release and the scope will be test, as we will be using this library only for testing. Now we can open the user_utils unit test class and write a unit test. We will declare an instance variable of type podem factory and then in the @before method we'll create a new instance of this class. Now, I'm going to copy the code that I prepared for this lecture and I will talk you through it. The test is very simple. It asks Podem to fill in a basic account payload POJO and then it sets the attributes that Podem couldn't set. Currently, Podem does not support autofilling emails formats, therefore we set one ourselves. The test then invokes the user_utils.fromWebUser to domain user method, asserting that the returned user entity attribute values are the same that the frontend POJO contained. Now we will need to ask IntelliJ to create this method for us. Here, we need to tweak the method signature slightly in preparation for further lectures when we will be implementing the Pro Account journey. We define a generic method by defining a generic type T that extends a basic account payload, and by accepting this type as argument. Later in the course, we will create a front-end POJO that will extend the basic POJO by adding credit card details. The method then simply sets user attributes with the front-end POJO values and returns the user entity. If we run the test now, it should go green. Great! Now we can close the Git flow workflow. We will start by pushing the local changes remotely with the git commands git add *, git commit -m, created the front-end domain model and translation layer for the basic account, and git push. Then we will merge to develop with the git commands git checkout develop, git merge user account, and finally git push. In the next lecture, we will create the user sign-up controller by handling the get and post requests when users sign in, as well as creating a Bootstrap form for the basic sign-up functionality. Thank you for your time, and I see you in the next lecture.